Hi there, folks. It's your old pal Lee. As you can see, well, things have taken a bit of a turn today. I'm wearing a wig, like you can see. I was swapping out a motor in my one of my chainsaws, and I was going to get it down from a shelf, and the darn it came right down on top of my head, and stitches, a whole mess, concussion, a lot of pain. Well, not well. Anyway, they told me not to make a video today. To the knock on the head, and I said, well, maybe that's a good idea, but I thought I'd tell a couple of stories about the things you've been asking about, the sex and violence. I thought now would be an okay time. I have this old puppy out because. Well, it was in a part of a violent story. It started out nice. In the 70, I think this was 77, I was touring with James Taylor, and we stopped in New York City, and that was a pretty happening place at that time. Well, we recorded a song that James never released, and it's one of my favorite James Taylor songs, and I recorded it with this, well, at least part of it. We'll get to that later. But the song, and I made some notes. I wanted to bang on the head. Here we go. Oh goodness, here we are. Yeah, that was all right. I just wanted to make sure I had the full title for you because it was called Bilbo Baggin's Big Fat Bag of Haggis. And it was one of my favorite tunes of his. It was a fun little thing, kind of popping in the blues, a little bit of funky thing, a lot of fun. Yeah, good old Bilbo Baggin's Big Fat Bag of Haggis. And Stevie Wonder played harmonica on that. He was, I don't remember the studio, I don't remember where it was, but I do remember we had a gig the next day, and here's where it gets to the violence. So I had, this is a Fender, although the headstock's going to say Hondo. We'll get to that later on. So it's no secret that the producer Phil Spector liked to have firearms with him sometimes, and we were playing that song for him in somebody's little studio on somewhere downtown. We were still in New York, and now we had a gig that night, and so I had this puppy with me, and just kind of leaning against the wall in a case, and Phil's got this revolver, and he's spinning the revolver, and I said, you might not want to be doing that. He said, we're going to play some Russian roulette, so we're definitely not going to be doing that. So look, it's completely empty. And I said, you got to check the chamber, Phil. And he didn't like that. And so he pointed at me, and I said, that's just something you never do. You never do that. And he's so it's nothing. I just stepped out of the way, and he pulled the trigger. And if I hadn't stepped in the way, he took the headstock right off my Fender Precision there. And now I had a gig that night. We had about 3 hours to get this bass replaced or fixed, and I really loved the sound on this. It was some good solid stuff. And I had a bass tech in those days named Wimbish Mala, and he could produce some miracles. And Wimbish he bought a Hondo, and he swapped out this neck on the Fender body, and it's been just terrific ever since. And it certainly worked that night. Bailed me out of a big jam, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so now, with the head knocks on, I'll just put this puppy down because it's taken enough abuse over its lifetime, as you might imagine. And now, well, on to the sex. This still stays with, we were touring with James Taylor, and it was between Christmas and the New Year's, and they were having a big party on a house they rented on. Oh gosh, where was that? Massachusetts, one of those islands, Martha's Vineyard, and this is when James Taylor and Carly Simon were like the thing, and both of them were really just killing the charts, man. They're just killing everything, and they had this really nice party, and they invited everybody. And when they mean everybody, they mean kids. Bring your kids, bring your pets, and we're having just a great time. And we were out in this one big room. Just a giant vault-to-ceiling wood, and it has a great sound. And we're singing and playing songs, and everybody's kind of around. Al Pacino was there, and all of a sudden, we hear screaming, and Al Pacino yelled, "Oh my God, what is that?" That's my best New York accent. And well, this one giant dog, I think he was part bear, and there was a much smaller dog in heat. It was mostly schnauzer. Well, anyway, the bigger dog manages, penetration into the little dog who is now screaming and tries to take off running, but now there's an attachment, so the big dog's chasing, and now with the little dog's off the ground just swinging. And that's what Al Pacino saw coming into the room, and these everybody just stopped playing because here, and the dog is making a heck of a racket. So Carly Simon was thinking pretty fast. She grabs an ice bucket, and a couple of the guys, they got the dogs, and she throws the ice onto the region of joining there, and that was working a little bit. Now poor James Taylor, he's got to get in there, and he's massaging that to kind of bring down the the kids had a lot of questions afterwards. So that's one of the sex stories from the road. I call that one Dogus Interruptus. One more story before I probably should go lay down in my hammock. Maybe it's a nice afternoon. Had to do with on the last Phil Collins tour, the first final farewell tour. Now he's playing big places. This is a big tour, big best everything. We're in stadiums, and lots of people in the crew, but you also would be hiring lots of local people. So there's lots of people walking around. You don't always necessarily know who they are or what. And there could also be times at sound check when Phil couldn't be there. He had an interview, had this, had something like that. So we'll be out doing the sound check, and then we'll come back to the dressing room. Well, it's after sound check one day, and we're coming back down this one of the tunnels in the arena there, and we get up to Phil's room, and we hear well, there's people standing there, and they think they hear the sound of let's say woman's pleasure, extreme pleasure, if you might, and now there's a good 6 or 7 folks outside the door going, and I look over. I look to my left, and who's standing there but Phil? And he says, "You think we should knock and disturb him, see?" Well, what happened was one of the local guys got into Phil's dressing room, and he put porn on Phil's computer, and he put his headphones in. Now, Phil Collins is a guy, he wants sound to be pretty good, and he had these fantastic JBL monitors, even in his dressing room. And so what this guy didn't realize, that he didn't get the headphone jack in all the way, so the sound of the porno film is carrying through these beautiful JBL monitors, and he can't hear it to his satisfaction, so he keeps turning it up. Well, he was rudely interrupted as well. So we'll leave it there for the sex and violence. Still, I just want to hope everybody out there is doing safe and doing well. And a shout out to our first responders. And gosh, they stitched me up pretty good too. So in the midst of all this, you really have some terrific people doing terrific things. And geez, I hope I get better from this fast, and I don't tell too many stories about the. Well, look, we'll talk to you later. Post concussion, maybe, and maybe I'll get to play that song for you. Bilbo Baggin's Big Fat Bag of Haggis. I think you'll like it. I think it's one you'd kind of like.